People often ask me about tips that they can get. Professional speakers, we all get asked these things. You go into different countries, you speak to tens of thousands of people a year, you work with the largest companies, you have the benefit of the biggest budgets of companies to set these events up, and all these stages and these rigs and these lighting. Well, yes, lighting is an issue. I'm amazed at how little attention is given by speakers to how they're going to be lit. Let me explain why it's important. If you go to the theatre, your eye is concentrated by light onto the stage, and every lighting director knows that he or she can throw your attention from one side of the room to another and can create atmosphere, a feeling of electricity even, and of expectation, simply by the way the place is lit. Without a single word being said, without a single prop, without a single piece of anything else, just by lighting alone on the face or the image or the body of a human being. And how that human being walks within that lit space is absolutely vital. And you can watch a very bad theatre production and you find that the actor moves out of the area of light, or the spotlight doesn't catch up with them, or there isn't a spotlight, or they just walk into an area which in comparison is semi-darkness. Yes, you can see them, but you just sort of somehow wish they'd moved back into the well-lit area. So lighting is very important to hold our attention. And lighting focuses us. It helps the person to communicate with us. And yet, in most corporate platforms of average events, I'm not talking about well-staged events, on average events, the lighting is truly appalling. For a start, the event is probably in a hotel ballroom with chandeliers on the ceiling, which are designed to flood the whole room with a vague light. It washes out the screen, so the screen is completely anemic. You know what? On a screen, the darkest black you will ever get is the color of that screen when the projector's turned off. So you try it next time you're in a room about to set up for a speaking engagement. Look at the color of the screen before the projector's on, and just look at it, and you'll see it's cream. You think, my word. So my darkest dark is cream. How on earth am I going to produce an image that's bright? How can I produce some black text that's black? My black text is going to be cream colored. My goodness, my greens are going to be creamy green, the reds are going to be creamy red. Nothing's going to work. So the first thing we need to do is to try to make sure that that screen is actually in darkness. That's tough, especially if you've got those chandeliers washing lights all over the place. So some event organizers say, oh yes, we know what to do. We're going to turn up with some well-focused spotlights. Well, they may be spotlights, but they ain't well-focused. You turn on those spotlights, you turn the chandeliers off, and you know what? There's a bright light on the lectern, but there's still a backwash just about all over the place, and it's bouncing around. It may be bouncing off the floor onto the screen. It may be bouncing from the side of the lectern onto the screen. It's actually coming out of the sides of the spotlight onto the screen, and again, you've got a creamy washout. And then there's another challenge. They've concentrated all that light on the lectern, apparently leaving the rest of the room in relative darkness. But since when did you want to actually stand at the lectern? If you've been watching the other series of tips that I've been doing, you'll know that one of the greatest tips you can have, or the secret you can have to hold an audience's attention, is to move around. Because it's so incredibly boring to watch someone gripping the sides of a lectern who's completely motionless, who's a tiny little figure miles away from you at the back of the hall. It's so much more interesting when the person walks around or even down into the audience. But if they start walking around, they walk into darkness. So this requires some sophisticated planning, as much planning as you would do for a theatre production. We want the screen in darkness. We want the lectern well lit. But we want nice passages of light where the speaker is allowed to go from left to right across the stage, maybe down a couple of steps into the first rows of the audience, without the audience being blinded, or without anyone being particularly aware of any lighting tricks being played. It's just subtle stuff. And we can vary the lighting too. So for instance, if you're watching a video clip and you say, let's watch this, house lights down, podium lights down, we're in cinema mode. 30 seconds later, up, audience reaction, audience lights up, let's go down into the audience, talk, back onto the stage, audience lights down, and so on. Let's keep it moving, keep it changing. It's theatre, theatre, theatre. Remember, we are in a TV age where people's attention span is around 33 seconds before they zap to another channel. And why should we expect their attention span to be any longer just because you, as a tiny little figure, light years away from them at the front of the stage, think that they should listen to you for a whole hour?